Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. And I have... What is this crap? Hold on, let me snip this off. There we sort of go. Alright. I have here a CD. This is a DVD-ROM, or a CDR, or whatever, a computer game, SimCity 4. And what I want to do is I want to get my SimCity 4 and mount it to this cardboard here. Best I can. I'm worried that since I did it on that smooth side, it's going to pop off pretty easy, but maybe not. Wow. Alright, let's get a different cutter. Because that one ain't cutting shit. Alright. Get a little bit of sticky over the edge. It'll be alright. So the first thing I want to do is I want to cut a hole in that. Cut a line in that, I should say. Make that kind of a groove. I want to get some cardstock. Make my base a little more interesting in some spots, but I'll wait a minute to get that going. Oh. Alright, so what I have here is a ricotta cheese 15 ounce thingy bob, not quite a pound. This is the most important takeaway there, not quite a pound. And I want to get that on there, and I want to mount that towards the back edge firmly and goodly. And then I'm going to get a little thin bead of glue. On there like that. Then I want to mount these extra pieces in such a way that they add some interest to the base, and I can cut off the excess when they've cooled. It'll be no problemo. Okay, and those will just make the base more interesting. Now I'm going to need a bunch of thin strips of card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a straight edge and then just generically try to make a bunch more. So what I'm doing is I'm making a little building that could be built out in the wastelands, like a temporary shelter or a place that might have an elevator inside of it that goes down into the world. Maybe it's an entrance to a bunker of some sort. But it could just be anything. It's going to have a door on it that doesn't open. And it's going to have some, the world's built up around it kind of stuff going on. I don't know how many of these I'm going to need. I feel like they're cutting on the first time and not moving because my table is so rough is what's happening here. Or maybe there's like a piece of glue or something under here on the table that's making it bounce and not hit. I'm not sure. So now if you were smart, you would do them kind of like this, because you know that crooked would be better when you're doing like a cone, but I'm not doing that. You'll see why, because I'm stupid. Let's hope we can get around it for now. So what I want to do is I want to start basically just like this. I want to get it down in there, just like that. I'm going to do that on all the sides. And what I'm attempting to do is kind of cut this into fourths. Doesn't have to be perfect. Ballpark will do the trick. Probably should have sanded this first too. I didn't do that. It'll be alright. Okay. I'm just going to snip these off so that they're flush or a little bit below. If you kind of lean it down a little bit towards you, it'll be a little bit below. And I'm wondering if these excess pieces are going to be long enough. That one's definitely not. That one is. Okay, so now I'm going to bisect those areas. And bisect's just a condescending word for cut in half. Divide it in half. That's all I'm doing. It's just being a bad word. Okay. And one more. And I don't have another short piece, I don't think. So I have to use a longer one. Okay. Alright, then I want to do one more. And it should be good enough for what I want to accomplish. The look I'm going for. I don't know what kind of look you're going for, though. So I'm going to bisect these yet again. Or divide them in two. However you want to call it for what you're doing. Glue. Something like that. Should have just two more spots. And depending on how wide of pieces you made, some of these gaps are going to be significantly different than others, it looks like. Unless you cut yours all the same, then yours might be identical. I'm just going to come around here and cut that stuff off. Alright, so I had a couple different ideas for the top. One was I was going to make it like a turret, and I didn't think I liked that idea so much. But what I did think I came up with was I was going to cut some of this. So let me get a marker. And I want to get this on here, kind of like that. And I don't know exactly how that's going to go, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a little bit of a guide so I can kind of see how that lays on there. That way I can see. That's mostly centered. I'm going to snip this stuff off. Just like that. So the spacing is all different around there, and that's not going to kill us. It's going to be okay. I would like to kind of see if I can get a rim around the top here, but my piece isn't quite long enough, though you won't really see that in the back, so it might be okay. Let me try it. Something like that. And we'll just clean the back up. And such this way. Cool, cool, cool. I'd like to do one along the bottom, but I don't think I can make it work. We can try though. I want this one to be thinner. And I'm going to need 2 of those. Okay. Lay that down. Come on, you bastard. That cooled before I could get that down. Let's see if I can get this off here. Oh, come on. Some hardcore glue. Thank you, Charbonder, for making such a BA glue. All right. We're going to be a little smarter about this time and do it in some sections, instead of trying to force it all on at once. Okay. There we go. Almost resorted to foul language. I managed to fend it off for a second there. Okay. Now we got to cover that gap up in the back. And I'm going to start like that. Then cut off my excess and just make it match up kind of perfectly. That's all I'm going to do. You see where that goes? Okay. Something like that. Then I need a door, and I want my door to be kind of cool. So let me think about this for a minute here. This is 1.5 inches wide. This cutter is. It's 1.5 inches wide. So let's cut. All those. And then this is 1 inch wide. So let's cut one of those. And let's make one 1.5 inches tall. Okay, so that's 1.5 inches tall. That should leave us 1/4 inch on either side. And then we'll make this one 2 inches tall. And we'll do that like this. We're just going to use this square and do make a straight edge with the square real quick. And we're going to come over here. Find 2 inches. That's a little bit off. Be all right. I will make it legal. All right, so we want to get this on here. We want to center this on here the best we can. Shit. Okay, never mind. All right, I know what to do. We know that's a flat edge. We know that's a flat edge. There was an easier way to do this from the start. It also occurs to me that I want my bottom to be where the door is all the way to the bottom. Okay. We want to curve this. As best we can. So that it sits right there on the front. Like that. Okay. Now we want to add some 3D kind of stuff to it to give it some interest. Anything you have that you think would look nice, you can use. Like if you think this would make a nice little bench, well, it won't because it's just too damn big. So if you have something you think would make a nice little bench, you can use that. I'm going to get a piece of cardboard and my straight edge, my T, a square, not T-square, it's just a square. I'm going to make some little outcropping kind of stuff. So if I put that there, it should give me a kind of half-ass little curve that follows along the outside edge, like that. So I'm just kind of follow that edge out like that. And then to make my platforms, I think I'm just gonna cut some thin pieces like this. I'm gonna shove that on and let that cool. Now there's a little bit of weirdness right there. I'm just gonna rub that in. Okay, and I'm just going to make my platform kind of sticking out like that. I thought I cut 3 of those. I must not have. We'll have to let those dry for a second, and we'll do a couple more. As those are drying, I'll just kind of make myself a little platform that a mini can stand on. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want it to be terrible either. Now we can easily trim that up and make that look more interesting right now without a whole lot of effort. By just getting a piece here about as long as we need it to be, cutting that off, and this will make this instantly look better. Ow. Super hot. All right, is that coming off there now? Yeah, I didn't get it in there just in time. We'll get that hot again. Get a little more glue and shove it there. Even though it's crooked now because it's stuck to my finger, it still looks better than not having it, I'm sure. And then we can do all kind of cool stuff to continue trimming and making things more interesting. For example, if you have some of these that are kind of fat, like this one's kind of fat, and I'm just gonna what I want to do is I want to make that kind of parallel to the ground. So I'm just trying to do something like that. And you don't have to do these things perfect. Whether you're going for repair or original construction, that's got to be up to you. I'm not going to worry about the backside too much. It would be nice to have a little like overhang right there, maybe. Let's see what I can do. I don't know where my marker went. Okay. Maybe a little overhang would be nice. Let's try to eyeball this. Just like that, yeah. Pretty good. Oh, and it does fit right above that door too. I'm going to snip a little bit of that off because I just think it looks a little wonky. Cool. Get another glue stick. I want to make sure I straighten that back out because I did bend that while I was cutting it. Okay. I want to get that above that door. Kind of flush and even. Just like that. Cool. I want to trim that out a little bit so it looks nice. So once my hand works again, there we go. Okay, I need something longer. I'm just going to take the edge of this box, cut the thin strip off of it, just to edge that out and make it look cool. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it around and then snip the edges off, okay? So I'm just going to get real carefully with this. Can I go all the way around? Yeah, I can. All right, so I'm going to start here. I'm going to snip this up to the building as close as I can get it. And do the same thing over here, as close as I can get it. I'm going to start here, just like that. I'm going to get my glue. Just like that. And wrap it around. I'm going to wipe that kind of flat there. Clean that up real quick. And then I'm going to figure out where that back piece comes off. And that's going to be right there. It's a little bit long. Perfect. Okay. Something like that. And trim that up a little bit, make it look nice, right? Just like it's good enough for government work. I'm going to clean up some of this excess sloppiness. I'm going to add a little bit of texture on some of these, and a little bit down in there too. And all I'm doing to add that little bit of texture is just letting the tiniest little bit of glue out. And dragging it in long strokes. Now, I usually do my buildings all rusty and horrible to fit this campaign, but I have a feeling I don't really need too much more campaign stuff for this campaign. But I know before long we'll be doing a high fantasy, like Star Wars-y kind of one. So I'm going to start doing some nicer looking buildings that could fit into that easily too. Okay. So I'd like to do a rim around that top too now, like that same kind of ledge, because I think it looks nice. So I'm going to try to cut a couple more thin ones and do that again, because I did like the way that looked. And it's probably not necessary, but it covers up the corrugation. And it makes it look like a more of a finished, nice building. And I know we're probably going to need 2 of these for this, so I'm just going to make 2 of them now and save myself some heartache. I'm just eyeballing, I'm not measuring anything there. So to get myself started, I'm just going to go nice and slow. I'll pull that into place. Just like that. I'm going to wipe that excess off. And I'm just going to take my time. Go around. Making it flush and sturdy. Look at that. Just pull that in. Wipe off my excess. Just like that. Come on, you. Stay there. Okay, and then in the back we have that excess spot here. Just to make sure that stays down and good. I'm going to get a little bit of glue there. Just like that. Mush it in. I'm going to leave that little bit exposed. So I can cut that off and make it flush. I'm going to snip that. Okay. I'm going to let that sit for a moment. I'm going to get a little dab in there, just like that. Kind of drag that together a little bit and clean it up, that's all. It's not perfect. I made this one sticking up too high right here. But it's going to be okay. Okay. Interesting. Now our top's a little boring. We could leave it like that, or we could interesting it up. So to interesting it up, you have options. You can use any kind of round things you have. Like I have some base pieces here. I have lids. I got lids for days. I got this thing here, which came off of a, came off of a, that old people stuff, Insure. I think what I want to do is try to take that off there. Just carefully. I don't want to cut myself again. Then I'll get my snippers. Get this extra crap. Should just use the snippers from the start. That's going to add a nice, interesting bit of detail, I'm thinking. And I'm not sure how sturdy that is, so I'm going to come around the outside here, get a bead. And I'm going to get my lighter, clean up any spider webs. And I think it's pretty good for the most part. There's a couple spots I'm not real thrilled about. There's a little bit of boringness to it, but not a whole lot. Let's get some detail on here and kind of make it look a little nicer for what it is. let's get like a straw maybe, and have a pipe going into the side. That'd be cool. Straw. Let me get a straw. So having a straw going to the side is pretty easy. It's one of my favorite straw tricks. Is to get my straw going to the side. I'm going to cut it twice. Try to figure out where it goes in at. So I'm thinking it goes in right there. We'll cut it one more time. Okay, we'll let that sit for a minute and cool. And then we'll pull it out and get the top part glued in place. This could be a little more interesting. So to do that, I'm just going to get some cardstock. That's crooked as shit. I'm going to straight edge some cardstock. Into some thin strips. And I'm just going to get my shears and cut these small so they're easy to work with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the middle, right there. Tiny bead of glue. Shove that down. I'm going to do the edges. Okay. And I already know that's got to come off. So I'm just going to do that. Get that on there, just like that. And we need one for the other side, and it's going to have an opposite cut. Just like that. We'll do one in the middle of each of those. That's crooked as shit. Let's hope I can get that all under my glue without making a big mess. All under my piece. No, I could not. There's a little bit sticking out. Be alright. We'll figure it out in a minute. Now that's pretty interesting. Let's get this. Oop, wrong device. Okay. Okay. Get all our spider webs off now for sure, so we can get this thing painted. And to paint it, I'm going to do the same thing I always do. I'm going to make an X across here, and I'm going to mount it just like that. Okay. Now, there are some things that we're going to need to do to make sure this is sturdy. We don't want this pipe coming off for sure. So we're going to get our glue on the pipe. It's going to sturdy our pipe up too. I'm going to make myself a little tool out of this piece of cardstock just to smear that around everywhere. Sturdy this up. Okay. That's going to need a little bit more. So I'm just going to get another thin line of glue on there. I'm going to smear that around some more. Okay, cool. Somewhere on the journey we picked up some spider webs. I'm just going to grab those. Now everything else is pretty sturdy, it looks like, and it's not going to come off. Even in hot weather, I think some of this stuff's going to endure. So we could stop here and be done if you want, or we could do some more. Maybe they have some stuff stacked outside. They have a little bit of scrap material stacked outside that they're keeping to work on stuff. And that's too easy. All I'm going to do is make myself a thin bead of plastic or glue. Set my plastic on it. Whatever my next piece of plastic is, which is going to be some straw. I'm just going to get a thin bead of glue. I'll put my straw there. Just like that. And then I'm going to get a piece of skewer. Get a thin bead of glue. I'm going to shove my skewer there. Okay. And I don't want that to be too crooked, so if the end of my straw gets messed up, that's okay, because it's scrap they've collected, right? Let's get one more piece of something here. Put on there to make our pile look a little bit nicer. There we go. Way more glue than I wanted. That's okay. Okay, we're going to put that there. And then we're going to put a piece of sprue. No, not that. Something like this that's janky. We're going to get a tiny line here. Just like that. We're going to stick that on there like that. And move it up. And then we can use that same thing to hold a couple little pieces of scrap metal. Okay, something like that, and something like that. Then I'm just going to get a dab of glue to hold that stuff in place and make it sturdy. Alright, when you come back, I'm going to have this thing spray painted black, and then we'll get to work on it. But that's what it looks like. Not too fancy, just super practical and fun. I had a nice time building it. We didn't have to put that much work into it, but I'm kind of glad we did. Maybe I'd like to edge that, but I don't think I'm going to. What I would like to do, though, since I'm not going to edge that, is I would like to make some thin panels on each of the sticky outy things. And I'm going to do that real quick. On this little bench piece here. Just the finest little bit. It's got to be coming this way. Okay. I know I want to do one on the outside, but I haven't decided if I want to do them on the inside yet, so we're going to wait and see. Okay. Something like that. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll do them on the other ones while we're at it. This doesn't accomplish much, but it's just like a little more, one more little layer of something on here. Now that I'm looking at this, there's a lot more we could do with this that I have not done. Let's get a piece of cardstock or cardboard. Here we go. Make a little divot in it. Get some super glue. 4 drops. Get my rivets. These are just those little gem beads I always use from those gem paintings that my wife and mom do. Let's just kind of give this a little pizzazz. Snazzify it. That's a technical term. Now these are up underneath this railing, or this awning, so you don't really see these. But if you don't put them, you'll know. And I'll know. I'll know you didn't do it. And I'll heavily judge you from a distance. Come on, get up there. There you go, buddy. Now, do I need 5 of these on each side? Maybe. I won't know until I get to that. Now I think I do. Need 5. I will tell you this. These stick much better to the shiny side of cardboard than they do to the dry side. Indubitably. Oh, come on, get on there. Go to your home. There you go. Get a little. One more there. Cool. Not bad, not bad. Maybe there's some other spots that could benefit from that. But let's get this little bit of glue cleaned up right there real quick. Here we go. Alright, so maybe a couple on the pipe, huh? That'd be nice. Give it a nice little weird detail. Oh, come on, get up there. We have that nice stripe to kind of use as a guide as to where they're going to sit, so they're all kind of even too. So all we're doing is figuring the up and down even. We'll do one more on that. Right about there. That's going to look sharp. Let's get this glue on the front here cleaned up a little bit. Okay. We can make this a little nicer, I suppose. I don't know how. I have ideas. Nothing great, though. Spiderweb. Maybe do one on the fronts of all those. I just like putting these little rivets on. If I'm going to be honest. I just find it super satisfying. I think that's enough. Everything's kind of going to work that way. So if you don't want these to have that rippled thing, like I showed you before, just hit it with the lighter real quick. I wouldn't do that on your straw part, though, because you will regret it. And that just makes them nice and round. Maybe a welcome mat there. Are there welcome mats on random vault door or bunkers or buildings? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't put a vault door there. I'm pretty happy with that. It'll work for anything you need it to. We're getting up on an hour. I think it's 50 minutes. 49:58. Yep. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, leave a comment. If you like these crafting tips and want more, play this video in reverse. If you have the technology to do so. Do me one more favor. I can't remember what it is. Anyways, I'll see you next time.